The grand chamber of the Galactic Council aboard Eos Station hung in perfect orbital synchronicity with the neutral world of Carulia below. Its azure oceans and swirling white clouds offered a deceptively peaceful backdrop to the diplomatic crisis unfolding within the station's gleaming walls. Ambassador Mira Santos stood at the curved podium, her dark eyes fixed on the three alien delegations arrayed before her. 6 months of first contact treaties had come to this moment, a joint ultimatum that threatened to confine humanity permanently to its meager allotment of 47 star systems. "The position of Earth and her colonies remains unchanged," Santos said, her voice steady despite the tension knotting her shoulders. "Humanity seeks neither conflict nor domination, but we cannot accept permanent restriction of our species' growth and development." High Chancellor Vexar of the Crystalline Union rose to his full height, nearly 3 meters of translucent, faceted limbs catching the chamber's light in prismatic patterns. "Ambassador Santos, your persistence borders on the irrational. The evidence is incontrovertible. Your species' history of internal warfare makes you inherently unsuitable for unrestricted galactic participation." To Vexar's right, Hive Matron Zhir's chitinous mandibles clicked in what Santos had learned to recognize as derision. The massive insectoid representative of the Thra collective tilted her armored head. "The human incapacity for collective thought makes their containment not merely advisable but necessary. Their individualism breeds chaos." Grand Admiral Cathron, the scaled and crested military leader of the Zephyrian League, did not even bother to stand. His 4 eyes blinked in asymmetric patterns as he spoke. "Let us not prolong this charade of negotiation. The terms are generous. 47 systems provide ample space for a species of your limited technological advancement. Accept your place, or face reclassification." Santos felt a chill at the implied threat. Reclassification was the euphemism used throughout the galaxy for designating a species as non-sentient, effectively removing all rights and protections under galactic law. From her position slightly behind Santos, Dr. Lin Truong, Earth's cultural attaché, sent a discreet alert to the ambassador's neural implant. "They're not bluffing. Sensor readings confirm fleet movements consistent with enforcement protocols." Commander Raj Patel, standing at attention near the chamber entrance, maintained his stoic expression, but Santos knew his military mind was already calculating defensive scenarios. His dark eyes briefly met hers, conveying a silent message. "We have options, but not through conventional diplomacy." Santos took a deep breath. "Distinguished delegates, I present Earth's final counterproposal, a graduated expansion program with oversight committees composed of representatives from all major galactic powers, including Earth. We propose." "Rejected!" all 3 alien leaders said in unison, a rare moment of harmony between the often competitive powers. High Chancellor Vexar's crystalline form glittered as he moved toward the exit. "These negotiations are concluded. You have 48 galactic standard hours to formally accept the containment accord, or the Council will convene to vote on your species' reclassification status." The chamber doors sealed behind the departing delegations, leaving Santos alone with her team in the vast, echoing space. "That went about as expected," Commander Patel said, his voice low as he approached. His uniform, bearing the subtle insignia of Earth's Unified Defense Force, was impeccably pressed despite the 16-hour diplomatic marathon. Dr. Truong joined them, her slender fingers dancing across her data tablet. "They've been planning this for weeks. The signal intercepts I've been analyzing suggest they believe we have no recourse but to accept." Santos stared out at the peaceful blue world below. "They're wrong," she said quietly. Then, with firm resolution in her voice, "Commander Patel, please establish a secure channel to Earth Central Command. Authentication Protocol, Santos Omega-9. Patel's eyebrows rose slightly, the only indication of his surprise. "Ambassador, are you authorizing?" "The Foliage Protocol," Santos confirmed. It's time the galaxy learned that appearances can be deceiving. Dr. Truong looked between them, her normally composed features showing rare confusion. Foliage protocol? I don't recall any contingency by that name in our briefings. Santos offered a grim smile. That's precisely the point, Doctor. Some secrets are kept even from our own diplomatic corps. As Patel established the secure connection, Santos felt the weight of centuries of human planning settling on her shoulders. What would happen next would either secure humanity's future among the stars or condemn them to extinction. The galaxy was about to discover just how deeply humanity's roots had already spread. Admiral Carl Murphy stood before the holographic display in Earth Central Command's subterranean complex beneath the Pacific Ocean. His weathered face, lined from decades of service, remained impassive as Ambassador Santos's transmission concluded. Confirmation received. Ambassador, authentication protocols verified. Foliage protocol is now active. He turned to the woman beside him. General Chang, initiate the sequence. General Elise Chang nodded sharply. Her silver-streaked black hair pulled into a severe bun. Initiating foliage sequence now. Admiral. Her fingers moved across the control interface with practiced precision. All dormant sites receiving activation codes. Estimated full deployment, 6 hours. Murphy's gaze returned to Santos's image. Ambassador, once this begins, there's no turning back. The galactic community will see it as confirmation of their worst fears about us. Santos's holographic form wavered slightly with the distance of the transmission. They fear us already, Admiral, despite our apparent weakness. Better they fear us for our strength than despise us for our compliance. As the transmission ended, Murphy turned to the vast display showing Earth's secret. Not 47 star systems, but hundreds. Hidden facilities and fleets that had been constructed in silence over decades. An invisible network of power that had escaped even the most sophisticated alien detection. 100 years of preparation, General Chang murmured. Do you think the founders ever truly believed this day would come? Murphy's expression softened momentarily. They hoped it wouldn't, but humans have always understood that hope isn't a strategy. Across the solar system and beyond, dormant factories began to hum with activity. Hidden shipyards revealed massive vessels that had never been recorded in any official database, and defensive arrays emerged from their camouflage positions among asteroids and moons. The Foliage Protocol, humanity's hidden forest of power, was beginning to bloom. Dr. Lin Truong had always prided herself on her analytical mind. As Earth's foremost xenocultural specialist, she had dedicated her career to understanding alien psychology and social structures. Now, as she reviewed the classified data suddenly available to her, she realized how incomplete her understanding had been, not of alien cultures, but of her own species' preparations. Alone in her quarters, aboard EOS station, she pored over reports detailing the vast network of hidden human facilities. Her neural implant processed information faster than her eyes could read, flagging anomalies and patterns for her conscious mind to evaluate. Computer, compare these energy signatures with the standard crystalline scanning frequency, she instructed. The answer confirmed her suspicion. Energy signatures calibrated to register as background radiation on standard crystalline scanning systems. For centuries, humanity had been systematically identifying and exploiting the technological blind spots of each major galactic power. Where one species might detect human activity, another's sensory limitations provided cover. By strategically playing these limitations against each other, Earth had created a shadow empire right under the noses of the galaxy's dominant species. A soft chime indicated an incoming communication from Commander Patel. Dr. Truong, I'm departing for reconnaissance of Rosetta 12. The ambassador requests your presence in her quarters for a strategic briefing in 30 minutes. Understood, Commander. Safe journey. Truong hesitated. then added, "The activation patterns I'm seeing, they're not random. There's a symbolic structure to the sequence." Patel's voice betrayed no emotion. "Symbolism, Doctor." "Yes. The facilities are activating in patterns resembling Earth's ancient forest growth models. Smaller, isolated points first, then connecting outward in accelerating sequences." She paused. "It's beautiful, in a terrifying way." "That's humanity for you," Patel replied after a moment. "Even our contingency plans have poetry." Patel out. Left alone again, Truong continued her analysis. As a cultural attaché, her official role was to interpret alien behavior for human diplomats. Now, she found herself in the unexpected position of interpreting human behavior, a century of secretive preparation, through the lens of how aliens would perceive it. The revelation was clear. When the Foliage protocol completed its activation sequence, the galaxy would see humanity not as the diplomatic supplicant they believed, but as a force that had been hiding in plain sight all along. The question that haunted her was simple. Would the galaxy respond with respect or with fear-driven aggression? Commander Raj Patel piloted the unmarked scout vessel toward Rosetta 12, an unremarkable dwarf planet in an unremarkable system that officially belonged to no one. According to galactic records, it contained nothing of value, just another cold, barren rock in the vast emptiness of space. Those records were deliberately false. As Patel approached the designated coordinates, he transmitted the activation sequence. The planet's surface seemed to shimmer. Then, vast sections began to retract, revealing cavernous openings large enough to accommodate capital ships. "Mother of mercy," Patel whispered to himself as the full scale of the hidden shipyard came into view. Row upon row of warships stood in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the artificial light of the underground facility. Massive production lines extended for kilometers, constructing vessels that rivaled anything in the crystalline or Zephyrian fleets. Robotic workers moved with precise efficiency, bringing online systems that had been waiting in dormancy for this exact moment. Patel guided his craft into the main docking bay, where a small reception committee awaited. The station commander, a stern-faced woman named Admiral Reyes, greeted him with a crisp salute. "Commander Patel, we've been expecting you. The Foliage protocol is proceeding on schedule. All systems are at 97% operational capacity." Patel returned the salute, trying to maintain his composure despite the astonishing scale of the operation around him. "I need a complete status report for Ambassador Santos. How soon can you deploy?" "First wave can launch within 2 hours. Full combat readiness in 4. Reyes led him toward a command center embedded within the planetoid's core. "We've been running simulations for decades. Every officer and AI system knows their role." As they walked, Patel observed the disciplined activity surrounding them. "How many personnel have been stationed here?" "Rotational crews of 500, replaced every 6 months. Most believe they've been participating in deep space readiness drills." Reyes's expression softened slightly. "They've only just learned the truth about our purpose." The command center was a marvel of human engineering, a perfect blend of human intuition and artificial intelligence working in harmony. Holographic displays showed similar facilities activating across hundreds of systems, a coordinated unveiling of power that would reshape galactic politics in a matter of hours. "And the other species?" Patel asked. "Any detection?" Reyes nodded toward a monitoring station. "The Thra have picked up anomalous energy readings in Sector 7. They've dispatched scout vessels to investigate. The Zephyrians remain unaware, and the Crystalline have noted navigational discrepancies, but attribute them to equipment malfunctions." Patel absorbed this information, already composing his report to Santos in his mind. "Show me the fleet specifications. Ambassador Santos will need precise numbers when she addresses the Council." As the data scrolled before him, Patel felt a complex mixture of pride and apprehension. Humanity had achieved something remarkable, a level of secrecy and preparation unprecedented in galactic history. But what came next would determine whether that achievement led to peace through strength or to the very conflict they hoped to avoid. "Admiral Reyes," he said finally, "prepare your most impressive display formation. When Ambassador Santos gives the word, I want the galaxy to understand exactly what they're dealing with." Panic spread through the Galactic Council like a contagion. Representatives from a dozen species crowded the emergency session chamber, their voices rising in a cacophony of accusations and demands for information. High Chancellor Vexar's crystalline form vibrated with agitation as he addressed his Zephyrian and Thra counterparts. "Your intelligence services assured us the humans possessed no significant capabilities beyond their known systems." Grand Admiral Cathron's scales had dulled with stress, a physiological response that betrayed his concern, despite his controlled voice. "Our long-range sensors detected nothing. Nothing. Yet now we receive reports of energy signatures appearing simultaneously across hundreds of systems." Hive Matron Jir's antennae twitched nervously. "The collective consciousness of the Thra is disturbed. We sense a pattern to these emergences, but its meaning eludes us." Lesser council members crowded around the three major powers, seeking protection or information. Representatives of smaller, vulnerable species watched with particular anxiety. Many had suffered under the dominance of the major powers and feared a new predator was emerging. Into this chaos stepped Ambassador Mira Santos, flanked by Dr. Truong and a recently returned Commander Patel. The chamber fell silent at their entrance, alien eyes tracking their progress to the central podium. Santos surveyed the assembly, noting the fear and confusion evident in postures and expressions across species. This was the moment everything would change. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice steady and clear. "Yesterday, you presented humanity with an ultimatum. Accept permanent containment or face reclassification as a non-sentient species." She paused, letting the words hang in the air. Today, humanity presents its response. With a subtle gesture, Santos activated the chamber's holographic display. The image that appeared showed a massive shipyard orbiting a gas giant, vessels of war and exploration under construction on a scale that rivaled the combined fleets of the three major powers. "This is Artemis Station, one of 412 facilities that have remained hidden from galactic detection until this moment." She changed the display to show a map of the galaxy with hundreds of points illuminated. "For a century, while presenting ourselves as a minor, newly spacefaring species, humanity has been preparing for this day, the day when the powerful would attempt to confine the potential of the less powerful." Gasps and exclamations rippled through the assembly. A representative of the Morrigan Confederacy, a minor power often bullied by the Zephyrians, rose to speak. "Ambassador Santos, are we to understand that humans have maintained a secret military presence of this magnitude without detection?" "Yes," Santos replied simply. "We call it the Foliage Protocol, our hidden forest of strength, growing in silence until needed." High Chancellor Vexar's crystalline body emitted a high-pitched resonance of distress. "This deception proves our concerns. Humans cannot be trusted." Santos turned to face him directly. "Chancellor, was it deception when your Union annexed the Proxima Cluster against the wishes of its inhabitants? Was it deception when the Thra Collective absorbed 3 developing species into their hive without consent? Was it deception when the Zephyrian League established protection zones that happened to encompass the richest resource worlds?" The chamber fell silent again. "Humanity chose to hide its strength because history, both yours and ours, teaches that the strong rarely respect the rights of those they perceive as weak." Santos's voice remained measured, but carried an undercurrent of steel. We extended diplomatic hands in peace while preparing for the possibility that peace alone would not be enough. Today proves we were correct. She changed the display again, showing a real-time feed of human vessels emerging from hidden docks across the galaxy. The ships moved with coordinated precision, forming defensive patterns around key systems. So here is humanity's response to your ultimatum. The era of containment and coercion ends today. Earth proposes a new galactic protection accord, where expansion requires mutual consent and military power serves collective security rather than domination. Santos fixed her gaze on each of the major power representatives in turn. You have 48 galactic standard hours to begin good faith negotiations toward this new accord. Should you choose aggression instead? She let the implication hang as the displays showed more human ships taking position. Grand Admiral Cathran found his voice first. You threaten us with war. No, Admiral. Santos's expression softened slightly. I promise you peace, but peace built on justice and mutual respect, not subjugation. Humanity's strength will be used to protect, not to conquer. As if to punctuate her words, the display shifted to show human vessels interposing themselves between Zepyrian warships and a small colony world on the rim, a minor species that had been fighting Zepyrian annexation attempts for years. Our fleets are already moving to protect those who cannot protect themselves, Santos continued. This is not aggression. It is a shield for those who have had none. The representatives of smaller powers began to murmur among themselves, their tones shifting from fear to cautious hope. The choice before this council is simple, Santos concluded. Continue the old way of domination by the strong, or embrace a new paradigm where strength serves justice. Humanity stands ready for either outcome. With those words, she stepped back from the podium, signaling that the ball was now in their court. As the council erupted into frantic discussion, Dr. Truong leaned close to Santos. They're terrified, but also calculating. The minor powers see opportunity. The major powers see threat. Commander Patel nodded in agreement. Admiral Murphy reports all systems at full operational status. The galaxy has noticed our forest growing. Ambassador. Now we see if they choose to burn it down or shelter in its shade. Santos watched the alien delegates with careful attention. Either way, humanity will never again be dismissed as inconsequential. The news spread across the galaxy at the speed of quantum communication. On thousands of worlds, beings of all descriptions gathered around information terminals, absorbing the shocking revelation. Humans, believed to be a minor species of limited reach, had revealed themselves as a hidden superpower, with technology rivaling or exceeding that of the established galactic authorities. On Earth, Admiral Carl Murphy and General Elise Chang monitored the unfolding situation from Central Command. Displays showed human vessels taking position throughout the galaxy, establishing a new power dynamic with every passing hour. 3 scout vessels have withdrawn from Sector 11, a communications officer reported. Crystalline diplomatic channels are requesting direct communication with Earth's central government. Murphy nodded, satisfaction evident in his weathered features. And the Zepyrians? Their fleet near the Orion Spur is holding position. Admiral, they appear to be awaiting instructions. General Chang studied the tactical display. The smaller powers are reaching out as well. The Morrigan Confederacy and the Solarian Republic have both sent formal messages of support for Ambassador Santos's proposed protection accord. As expected, Murphy replied. They've lived under the heel of the major powers for centuries. They recognize an opportunity when they see one. Chang's expression remained thoughtful. Do you think Santos can actually pull this off? Restructuring galactic politics without triggering all-out war? Murphy considered the question. If anyone can, it's her. The Foliage Protocol gave us the strength we needed, but strength alone won't build a lasting peace. On a separate screen, they watched as human vessels positioned themselves near Eridani 6, a small, agricultural world that had been fighting Threy encroachment for decades. The insectoid collective's ships withdrew rather than challenge the human presence. A small, but significant victory. "It's working," Chang said quietly. "They're backing down." "For now," Murphy cautioned. "But the real test comes when Ambassador Santos presents the full protection accord. That's when we'll see if the galaxy is ready for change." Dr. Lin Truong found herself in an unexpected role in the days that followed. As the only human xenocultural specialist with clearance to know the full scope of the Foliage Protocol, she became the bridge between humanity's military presence and the confused, often frightened alien populations they now protected. On the colony world of Eridani 6, she stood before a gathering of the planet's arthropoid natives, their compound eyes fixed on her with a mixture of hope and suspicion. "The human vessels will remain in orbit only as long as necessary to ensure your independence," she explained, her translator converting her words to the clicking language of the Eridani. "We seek no resources, no territory, no concessions. Earth asks only that you determine your own future free from coercion." The Eridani Elder, a battle-scarred individual whose carapace bore the marks of throw weapons, stepped forward. "For generations, we have fought the collective's attempts to absorb us. Why would humans risk conflict with a major power for our sake?" Truong considered her response carefully. "Because humans understand what it means to fear extinction. Our history is filled with struggles against those who would dominate us. We built our hidden strength, not for conquest, but to ensure such domination would never succeed, neither against us nor against others who share our values of self-determination." As she spoke, she realized the truth in her words. The Foliage Protocol had been conceived as self-protection, but it had evolved into something more, a means to extend that protection to others. Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds as human representatives reached out to species that had long suffered under the domination of the major powers. Not all welcomed the human intervention. Some feared exchanging one overlord for another, but many recognized the opportunity for a more balanced galactic order. Meanwhile, Commander Patel led a different kind of diplomatic mission. Aboard the newly revealed flagship Artemis, he hosted representatives from the military establishments of the three major powers, a tense meeting of potential adversaries. The Crystalline Union acknowledges the impressiveness of human technological achievement, the Crystalline military attaché stated, his translucent form shifting uncomfortably. "But surely you understand our concern at such deliberate deception." Patel nodded respectfully. "We understand completely. Just as we understand your union's deliberate misrepresentation of the Proxima Cluster's resource surveys before annexation." The Thra representatives' mandibles clicked rapidly, their equivalent of nervous laughter. "The human makes a valid observation. None of our species approaches diplomacy with complete transparency. The difference," interjected the Zephyrian officer, "is scale. Your deception encompassed hundreds of star systems and military capabilities that could destabilize the entire quadrant." "A capability we have not used aggressively," Patel pointed out. "Despite ample opportunity, our vessels have fired no weapons, established no blockades, seized no territories. We have simply revealed ourselves." The alien officers exchanged glances, a rare moment of shared understanding between traditional rivals. "What does Earth want?" the Crystalline finally asked. "Truly?" Patel smiled slightly. "Ambassador Santos will present our full proposal to the Council tomorrow. But I can tell you this. We want a galaxy where strength protects rather than oppresses, where developing species can evolve without fear of absorption or exploitation, where conflicts are resolved through law rather than dominance." "Idealistic," commented the Zephyrian. "Perhaps," Patel acknowledged, "but backed by enough firepower to make even the most cynical consider its merits." Ambassador Mira Santos stood alone in her quarters aboard EOS station, watching the stars through her viewport. In the 6 days since the activation of the Foliage Protocol, she had barely slept, navigating the most complex diplomatic challenge in human history. Her neural implant chimed with an incoming message: the Earth Central Government's response to her draft of the Protection Accord. Proposal approved without amendment. Full authority granted for final negotiation. Earth stands with you, Ambassador. Santos closed her eyes briefly, feeling the weight of responsibility. Tomorrow she would present humanity's vision for a restructured galactic order. The response would determine whether their hidden strength would secure a lasting peace, or trigger the very conflict they had hoped to avoid. A gentle knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Dr. Truong entered, looking as exhausted as Santos felt. The final cultural analysis, Ambassador, she said, offering a data tablet. I've compiled reaction patterns from 17 key species. The smaller powers are broadly supportive. The major powers are adapting to the new reality, though with significant internal disagreement. Santos accepted the tablet with a grateful nod. And what does Dr. Lin Truong think? Not the cultural attaché, the person. Truong seemed surprised by the question. After a moment's consideration, she replied, I think we're witnessing a pivotal moment in galactic history. For centuries, power has flowed from the strong to the stronger, with the weak serving merely as resources to be consumed. But strength without compassion is just another form of weakness. She paused, then continued with growing conviction. What we're attempting, using overwhelming strength not for domination but for protection, it's unprecedented. It could fail spectacularly. But if it succeeds, we create a galaxy where my children's children can explore the stars without fear. Santos finished. Where strength of arms is matched by strength of principle. Another knock announced Commander Patel's arrival. His uniform was immaculate as always, but the fatigue showed around his eyes. The council is assembled, Ambassador. All 172 member species have sent representatives, a historic full attendance. Santos straightened her shoulders. Then let's not keep them waiting. The Grand Council chamber had been expanded to accommodate the unprecedented attendance. Species that normally sent only junior observers had dispatched their highest authorities. Even the reclusive quantum consciousness of the Helios Nebula had manifested an avatar, the first such appearance in over a century. As Santos entered with her team, a hush fell over the diverse assembly. The past week had transformed her from a minor diplomatic figure to perhaps the most consequential individual in the galaxy. All eyes, compound, crystalline, and otherwise, tracked her progress to the central podium. High Chancellor Vexar, Hive Matron Jir, and Grand Admiral Cathron occupied their traditional positions of prominence. But their postures lacked the arrogance that had characterized their previous interactions with humanity. Santos noted with interest that representatives of smaller powers had moved their seating positions closer to the center. A subtle but significant realignment of perceived influence. Distinguished representatives, Santos began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. We gather at a crossroads in galactic history. For generations, this council has maintained a certain order, one where power accumulated to the already powerful, where developing species faced absorption or marginalization, where might alone determined right. She paused, surveying the assembly. Humanity revealed its hidden strength not to replace one form of domination with another, but to break the cycle entirely. Today, I present for your consideration the Galactic Protection Accord, a new framework for interstellar relations. With a gesture, she activated the central display, showing the document that her team had refined through sleepless nights of preparation. The Accord contains 3 core principles. First, territorial expansion requires genuine consent, verified by independent observers. Second, developing species receive protected status until they achieve interstellar capability. Third, military power serves collective security rather than individual advantage. Murmurs spread through the chamber, some appreciative, others skeptical. To enforce these principles, we propose the formation of a protection fleet drawn proportionally from all signatory powers, with command rotating among qualified species regardless of size or military strength. High Chancellor Vexar's crystalline form shifted, refracting light in patterns that indicated deep thought. And if we reject this proposal, if the established powers prefer the current order? Santos met his gaze steadily. Then, humanity will protect the principles of the Accord alone if necessary. Our fleets are already positioned to prevent coercion of developing species. We would prefer to work alongside you, rather than against you. But we will not withdraw our protection, regardless of this Council's decision. Hive Matronger's antennae quivered. The Thra Collective has existed for millennia by incorporating promising species into our greater consciousness. You would deny us this natural expansion. We would deny coerced incorporation, Santos clarified. Any species that freely chooses to join your collective may do so, but that choice must be truly free, made with full understanding and without threat. Grand Admiral Cathron leaned forward. And what of existing arrangements? The Zephyrian League has protection agreements with dozens of developing worlds. Existing relationships will be reviewed case by case, Santos replied. Where genuine consent exists, they may continue. Where coercion is evident, they must be restructured. The chamber erupted in a babble of voices, questions, objections, expressions of support. Santos allowed the discussion to flow, noting with satisfaction that the smaller powers were speaking with unprecedented boldness. The representative of the Morrigan Confederacy, a species that had lost 3 colony worlds to crystalline expansion, rose to address the assembly. The Confederacy supports the Protection Accord without reservation. For too long, we have watched our neighbors disappear into the territories of the major powers. If humans will stand as a shield for the vulnerable, we will stand with humans. Similar declarations followed from a dozen minor powers, creating momentum that even the major species could not ignore. After hours of debate, High Chancellor Vexar raised his crystalline appendages for attention. The Crystalline Union recognizes the changing nature of galactic reality. While we have reservations about certain provisions, we are prepared to join preliminary discussions toward implementing this accord. Hive Matronger and Grand Admiral Cathron, after conferring with their delegations, made similar cautious commitments. Santos kept her expression diplomatic, but inside, she felt a surge of triumph. The first step, getting all parties to the negotiating table, had been achieved. What followed would be months of difficult negotiation, but the direction was set. Then let us begin, she said simply, not as dominant and subordinate powers, but as equals building a more just galaxy together. 1 standard year later, Harmony Station orbited the neutral world of Carolia, its newly constructed chambers hosting the first formal gathering of the Galactic Protection Accord. Representatives from 217 species filled the assembly hall, their diversity a testament to the changed nature of galactic politics. Ambassador Mira Santos, recently appointed as Earth's permanent representative to the Accord Council, took her place not at the center, but as one voice among many. The circular arrangement of the chamber eliminated the traditional hierarchy that had characterized the old council. High Chancellor Vexar, his crystalline form now adorned with the blue bands indicating his status as a Protection Accord signatory, addressed the assembly. 1 year ago, humanity revealed its hidden strength and challenged us to rethink the foundations of galactic order. Many of us, he inclined his crystalline head toward Santos, myself included, reacted with fear and resistance. His form shimmered in what Santos had learned was the crystalline equivalent of contemplative humility. Yet, today, I acknowledge that the human vision has begun to create a more stable and just system than we had before. The Union's commerce has increased by 12% since hostile encounters along our borders decreased under protection fleet patrols. Similar reports followed from other major powers, reluctant admissions that the new order, while diminishing their absolute authority, had created benefits in stability and reduced military expenditure. The most powerful testimony came from the smaller species. A representative of a newly spacefaring civilization from the Sagittarius Arm spoke with emotion about making first contact under the Protection Accord protocols. "Our astronomers had observed the fates of other developing worlds," she said, her translator conveying the tremor in her voice. "We feared that achieving interstellar flight would simply make us targets for absorption. Instead, we were welcomed as equals, our sovereignty respected, our unique perspectives valued." As the session continued, Santos found herself seated beside Commander Patel, now Admiral Patel, following his appointment as Earth's liaison to the protection fleet. "Did you ever imagine we'd get this far?" she asked quietly during a brief recess. Patel's normally serious expression softened. "I had my doubts," he admitted. "When you first activated the Foliage protocol, I calculated a 60% chance of major conflict within the first month. And now I believe we might actually pull this off." He nodded toward the diverse gathering. "Look at them, species that were at each other's throats a year ago, now cooperating on joint patrols and humanitarian missions." Dr. Truong joined them. Her official role expanded to head the Accord's Cultural Exchange Initiative. "It's not perfect," she cautioned. "There are still holdouts, still violations. The Thra particularly struggle with the concept of individual species sovereignty." "Progress isn't perfection," Santos replied. "It's direction." Their conversation was interrupted as the Assembly reconvened to discuss the application of 3 additional species seeking to join the Accord. As Santos returned to her seat, she reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The Foliage Protocol, humanity's hidden preparation for a hostile galaxy, had instead become the foundation for a more hopeful one. Their concealed strength, rather than igniting conflict, had created the leverage needed to break centuries of domination. She watched as representatives from formerly powerless species presented reports and offered perspectives that would have been silenced in the old council. The forest that humanity had grown in secret now provided shelter for more than just Earth. Later that evening, standing at the viewport of her quarters aboard Harmony Station, Santos gazed out at the stars with a sense of cautious optimism. A message from Earth's central government glowed on her display, the latest report on the gradual, controlled revelation of humanity's remaining hidden capabilities. With each passing month, more of their concealed technologies were being shared with Accord partners, transforming secrets into shared resources. A soft chime announced Admiral Patel and Dr. Truong, arriving for their weekly strategic meeting. The protection fleet completed its first joint exercise with full, multi-species crews. Patel reported, "There were cultural adjustments required, but the fundamental protocols functioned as designed." Truong added, "The xenocultural exchange has cataloged over 5,000 unique technological approaches from member species. The collaborative research initiatives are producing innovations none of us would have developed alone." Santos nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. "And the developing worlds? 17 have achieved spaceflight under Accord protection this year alone," Truong replied. 3 have already applied for provisional membership." "So it begins," Santos said softly. "Not an empire of humanity, but a community of equals. A forest where every species can grow according to its nature, without fear of being overshadowed or uprooted." She turned from the viewport to face her colleagues, now friends after their shared journey. The founders of the Foliage Protocol believed humanity would need hidden strength to survive in a hostile galaxy. They were right about the strength, but perhaps wrong about the inherent hostility. Patel raised an eyebrow. The hostility was real enough when we faced containment. Yes, Santos acknowledged, but it stemmed from fear and habit, not immutable nature. Even the most domineering species have shown capacity for change when presented with a compelling alternative. Through the viewport, the lights of vessels from a dozen worlds moved in coordinated patterns. The night patrol of the protection fleet, no longer segregated by species. The crews represented the new reality. Cooperation backed by the resolve to defend those who could not defend themselves. Our ancestors hid their strength because they believed it was the only way to ensure our survival. Santos said, "We revealed that strength because we believed it was the only way to ensure everyone's survival." Both were right, in their time. The three humans stood together, watching the stars, no longer distant points of potential threat, but beacons in a galaxy, slowly learning a better way. "To the forest," Patel said quietly, raising an imaginary glass. "To the forest," Truong and Santos echoed. "And across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds that now determine their own destinies. Beings of all descriptions look to the stars without fear, sheltered in the protective shade of humanity's once hidden foliage, growing now in the full light of day."